Hi Terry, we're just discussing flare-ups and what we do when they happen. So what do you do?
Well, to be honest with you, I categorise them into two different things. A planned flare-up and an unplanned flare-up. A planned flare-up where if I'm doing something, I know if I carry on, it's going to get bad. Unplanned is where you're lying sound asleep and you wake up with excruciating pain. Now, the planned flare-ups obviously are a bit easier to handle because you're ready for them. And different things, even down to, I think it was yourself, Lindsay, that said as long as you've got enough food and that in the house, I drink a lot of fizzy juice. I make sure there's always plenty of that because these are the things that keep me going during the night. But I'm prepared for it. To be honest with you, this time nearly 4 years ago, I couldn't handle planned, unplanned, or anything with my pain. I found it very difficult. I actually found that I didn't have any quality of life. I've progressed through there, as I say. Pacing, I think it was Brian that said, was a big thing. Certainly a big thing with me, whereby there wasn't just I had to learn to stop doing things. I had to learn to talk to people differently when saying that, look, I'm going to do something, but I might not finish it today. I always tried to get, throughout my life, tried to be the best at what I could do. And it took me a while, but I had to accept that I couldn't complete these things. And I had to look at these things to say that I might get it done today, tomorrow, or whenever, but I had to comprehend that that wasn't a failure.
Yeah.
Because that's what I always thought, it was a failure. Now, as I say, they were a planned flare-up. And I handle them great, to be honest with you. More so the fact is my family understands, and I do get support from my wife. But the unplanned flare-ups, the only warning I get, and it's not difficult during the day to realise I'm going to have a flare-up because I start to really perspire quite badly. For about a good 5 minutes before we actually get the oomph pain. During the night, you didn't notice it. You just wake up with the kicking in of the pain. How do I manage it? I'll be perfectly honest with you, some nights I didn't. Some nights I can't manage it. It's just a lot of different things. One, because I've been in a deep sleep. Two, because we get in the fright, we're waking up with the pain, my heart's racing, everything. Even the fact that some nights my wife works night shift, and when she's not in the house, I start to panic even more because I'm all alone. And the night she's actually in the bed, I start to panic because I'm frightened to wake her up. It's difficult for me, as I say, to control them. But because of the way my life's changed with different things I've been doing, and as I say, going to the Pain Association meeting, not just what we get from Phil, but for everybody else, I know there's always light at the end of the tunnel. I just don't know how long the tunnel is till I get to the end of it at times now. And I can actually accept that. I could never accept it before, but I know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and different things that I do to get to the end of the tunnel, whether it be relaxation techniques, whether it's going on my phone and playing a silly game or something like that, to take my concentration away, to actually get me to the point where I've calmed down. During the day, it's not as bad, but during the night, it's like everything else. It seems to amplify things when you get a flare up. But I don't know where I'd have been without them dogs barking.
Well, Terry, I relate so much with what you just said.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure a lot of us do, Brian. That's the thing. I relate to a lot of stuff you said as well, and that's the thing.
Well, I mean, you put into words so many things I never thought of saying. Really, I can empathise with you, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's others the same, and that's what I'm saying. And I've said it umpteen times. That day we had, we went in half an hour early because the woman was there for the NHS, was really the first time we'd actually discussed our conditions, what was actually wrong with us. We knew snippets, but nobody actually knew other than the fact we suffer from chronic pain. And I think that's the good thing about the meetings, is because we aren't dealing with fibromyalgia, we aren't dealing with sciatica, we're not dealing with severe headaches, we're dealing with chronic pain, regardless of where it's came from. And as I say, sometimes you hear things, you think they might work for me. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. But as I say, we're not actually treating the pain, we're treating how we manage it. And I think that is where we've all been educated on, how to manage the pain. And the managing the pain, yes, it does involve medication at times, but peace of mind is a great thing as well. The fact is, you know, when the pain's starting to subside, the flare-up's starting to calm down, that you haven't took ketamine. Seriously, you haven't took ketamine. You haven't took really strong painkillers, morphine, stuff like that. You haven't taken them to the extent that you used to take them, because you know how to manage it. As I say, the tunnel is a long tunnel at times, but I now know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and whether it's planned or unplanned, I can honestly say the quality of life, and the quality of life for my family as well, because they understand it. That was a big hurdle for me, the communication point, that I couldn't tell them, because Dad and the husband always done the best they could, and sometimes he had to admit, nah, I can't now. But as I say, yeah, flare-ups are difficult to handle for anybody, regardless of what's wrong with them. I mean, even people that didn't have chronic pain can identify things like they get a sudden bout of a toothache or earache, and how to manage it. Well, to be quite honest, we had toothache last year, and I was actually quite pleased with it, because it diverted my mind thought. I knew what was wrong with that. I knew what was causing the pain.
Something different.
It actually sounds a bit what, but it's true. It's something different. I knew what was actually causing my pain, and I could go to the dentist and get it fixed.
Wasn't it?
It is. It's. Oh, I've got a headache. Yes.
I think Rod experienced that sort of thing where you get a pain, what you know, like toothache or something like that, and you get it fixed. But like you say, when you got chronic pain all the time and you don't know how to fix it, I think personally myself, with going to the meetings, you understand them more better. We're talking to everyone else within the meetings, because we're all at different stages with chronic pain, and we all have different ideas to deal with it. And it's just good to share ideas amongst ourselves.
It is, because although some of the things you take away from it didn't work for you, it's always been something for you to try. And just because it didn't work for you today doesn't mean to say they're not going to work for you next week. And we're increasing our knowledge of how to deal with pain.
Well, that's true, because it's only when you go to these group meetings that you meet other people that understand what it is.
Yeah.
Nobody else understands what acute pain is. If you don't suffer it, you don't understand it. But when you're talking to other people who do understand it, it makes a hell of a difference, doesn't it?
I remember my very first meeting. At the end of my first meeting, I actually stood up and said that the biggest difference for me was I was in a room full of people and not one person judged me.
Oh, I don't know about
that. you were there at the time, Brian. Yeah.
Can I come in there and say that it's not only understanding what the pain is and how to deal, it's actually accepting it yourself, and accepting that you actually have that ability to not control it, but to work with it. You know, so you can work with the pain so that you know, if you do such and such, then, you know, and that works in with pacing. It's all one great big picture. It's not just sort of one simple thing. but I think acceptance is a very large thing as well. I don't know what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, and that's our end goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get to acceptance, everything's so much easier.
Everything Andy was saying before about his kids are starting to understand how he is. It's a two-way street. Do you understand how your kids feel about this, Andy?
Yeah, because we do talk about it when it's just like me and the girls, and they do ask questions, because they say, "What when we're at the meeting, what I've learned at the meeting today," and things like that. So they are interested in it. So, and it's educating them. So,
See, there's a common denominator in a lot of things we've all discussed, and it's communication.
Yeah. I agree with what you've said, Terry. I mean, we've all increased our knowledge, but because we've been able to pass that on to our family, they can then understand why we need to rest. And then they can see the benefits of us resting and getting through a flare-up and improving their quality of life.
Yeah, and they're no walking on eggshells all the time now. They know what's happened. They know the reason why you've taken yourself out of the bubble at times, and it doesn't become an issue anymore. You know, and I mean, it was only last week we actually got our grandkids, because my daughter couldn't get childcare on a Monday for when she was working. So rather than send her to a house where those kids for another place, she brings them here. But I went up the stairs when my daughter came to collect them, and the wife says, "I think Dad might be in his bed. He's not been feeling that great." And it wasn't, nobody was judgmental about it.
Yeah.
Which lets me think, well, they've accepted it now as well. They probably accepted it quicker than I accepted it, to be quite honest with you. Because it was happening to me, and I couldn't accept it. As I say,
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but there is also the acceptance of the family and the acceptance of them saying, and then the bubble that they give you of protection, but they can be overprotective, which can be quite frustrating as well. You know, so that it's getting that happy medium where they don't turn around and say, "You can't do that," and I'm saying, but it will take me longer, or I have to do it a different way, but I can do it. You know.
Well, I've got 3 kids. The youngest one's 26. They're still my kids.
Oh, aye.
My youngest one is my son. I've got 2 daughters and a son. My son has never asked me anything about my condition or anything, but he phones me every day, and he always slips in, "What are you up to today?" And that gives him a feel of how I am. I think between all of us, I've discussed it less with him than anybody else, but he understands it. He understands it a lot better. Mm. And I know that by the way he speaks to me and certain things he does. Certain wee silly things, like he'll phone me and say, "Do you know who your phone before? Or were you in your bed?" He doesn't want to talk about it, but he fully understands it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that you raised there, Jackie, but when we're doing things in different ways, that's made a big difference to me. Say housework, for instance, I'll do no more than 5 minutes and 10 minutes and then rest. Yeah. And then go back and do another 5 or 10 minutes. And that does make a big difference, because you don't get to the point where you're continually pushing yourself till the pain starts to get out of control.
That's right.
And also you appreciate that by taking those breaks, it's not being lazy. And you maybe thought at one time, being a bit lazy by taking so many breaks. There's actually a bloody good reason for taking those breaks.
Yeah.
It's allowing yourself to do it, Brian. That's the thing, because if you've always been able to do it, you've been an active person, it's then that allowing yourself to take the breaks and say, well, actually, if I do it this way, I can perhaps finish half of it today and do the other half tomorrow. Right. Or, you know, I was cooking yesterday and it was great because I was making bread, because I do a bit, and then you leave it to rise, so you can go and sit down and relax, and you go and do the next bit and come back and sit down. And you know, if you try and do things in, well, as we're all saying, in small sizes, and don't be hard on yourself.
It's also all right to let standards slip a little bit.
Yes.
Sometimes you've got to say, I was doing something yesterday, and I thought, I used to be able to do this better. I can't now, so what?
But also you have to remember, it's like Chris was saying last one of the other weeks, you know, you have to remember that some of this is age as well. It's not all about illness.
Very bright.
Well, it is. I mean, everyone goes on about Chris's age. Well, I won't say how old I am, but I'm not that far behind him. You know, so
You're a long way away.
oh, don't believe it. And you have to also factor in the fact that you can't do things that you used to do before, or you do them slower anyway, because your age physicality has gone down as well.
That's right. That's true.
When you're talking about age, though, it's one thing that I've struggled with because I was relatively young when I started to get in pain. Like a lot of us were.
Yeah.
And you lose the ability to judge aging.
Yes.
You don't know how much is your condition, how much is aging, and it's very much like, it's almost like you get stuck when you first get diagnosed or ill, and moving on from that, when you're starting to accept it, you realise that it doesn't really matter. It's how you deal with it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You can miss out or feel that you've missed out on an age group. You never lived that part if you've had a long period of pain. You've not been able to do the things that other people in your age group are doing.
I actually disagree with that, because I've reinvented myself. I mean, because I had to give up physio when I was about 40. I then I've actually done different degrees, and I've done a lot of other things which I would never have done before. And I don't think that I've missed out. I think my paths have changed. To me, that's actually quite a challenge, because I had to give up so much at that age because my body couldn't do it physically. And yet I've done so many other things, which is great. And I've learned so much, which is great.
You have to alter yourself.
I had to alter myself. I had to come to, it took me 5 years to come to terms with the fact that I couldn't do all these things that I used to do, and bemoaning the fact that I couldn't do them. But then I thought, well, but I can do this. And I went off and other things, it wasn't actually thinking. Sometimes just these things just opened up, you know, and that was your path. So
Jackie,
yeah.
See, when you said about it took you 5 years to come to terms with it, obviously that'll be a lot of mental and emotional things you went through. But have you learnt from that as life goes on and you accept things a bit quicker, or easier, I would say, not so much quicker, but you realise now that you can't do this? Or
yes, yeah, I do. I do realise there are certain things that I can't do, and I would say that I accept things easier. It doesn't mean to say I like it. It doesn't mean to say, you know, but yeah, I think I probably do. And I tend to look now more for, well, I can't do that, so what can I do to fill my time instead of that? Yeah. And I think that's important. It's not to say, well, I can't do that, why can't I do that, and go on and on. It then move on to something else that you can do, or you can teach yourself to do, or that you're interested in, and you think, well, all right, you know, let's have a look at that. And I think that for me is very important, because I've always been quite an extroverted person, and I hate being indoors and being stuck in the house, so I have to find other things I can do. It's always like kill somebody.
It's just like dealing with chronic pain. Every day's a school day.
Oh,
you
of
learn
course.
something.
Yeah.
And one thing from listening to you all is, I've noticed that, I mean, this isn't an overnight fix. You know, it's not something you can go to 1 or 2 meetings and you're suddenly going to feel much better. It's a process that takes quite considerable time. But we are learning all the sort of tools and knowledge to be able to get there.
Yeah. But see, you're saying it's not an overnight fix. Prior to coming to these meetings, I was getting my sticking plasters. I wasn't getting solutions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But now you've just got, there's a little bit of hope, isn't there?
Yep.
There's a little bit of hope that, hey, I'm going to be able to handle this a bit better and cope with it a bit better and live my life a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what you're hoping for, and I think it does give you that to an extent anyway.
Absolutely. Does anybody else got anything to add?
Well, Lindsay, I was just going to say, funny enough, I was having a conversation with our Chloe and Simone, my wife, yesterday, and they were actually saying how much more chilled out and relaxed and a lot more calmer now than I used to be when I was at work and I was pushing myself, and the pain was getting worse and worse, and like pushing myself. Like going back to when you first met us in Glasgow, and how much I've changed within myself because I've learned to accept what's going on. There's people around us who are there to help us. We discuss things because we're all going through similar sort of thing, but we're at different stages of it. And I think what Terry said just there, every day is a school day, and you're learning stuff all the time. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. So I get all this. I'm constantly learning something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To deal with what the conditions, because like I said, when we go for our lunches on a Wednesday, we don't talk about I've got this, you've got that. We talk about other things in general.
We talk about your friends.
We might talk about stuff what went on in the last meeting, but we don't actually get down to details what's actually with ourselves. I think that's good in that way, because we all understand we're all in the same boat together, but at different levels, different stages within our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I think we try and offer each other solutions.
Yeah, and bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. And you can, it's like the other day when Chris was talking about riding a bike and looking, planning in for the front and then the middle and the back, which is how you ride a motorbike. And then, to me, it was, yes, you've got a plan for the future, for the, like you were saying, Lindsay, you've got that plan for if your flare-ups come up. And I tend not to, but I'm actually now thinking much more in that line. So you do pick up a lot from other people. Yeah, it's good. It's really, really good.
Excellent. Wow. I think we're done on this one, Phil.
Yeah.